Hey, shalom, shalom. I basically woke up with this on my mind. I ran across this information, I think like last month, sometime earlier this month, by a brother on Facebook named Benisi. I don't know how to say his name, but he shared this. I'm gonna tag him in this video, but or at least when I put it on Facebook, I'm gonna tag him in this video. He shared this information a while ago, and today I woke up with it on my mind and stuff like that. Because I think it's good information. But basically, I'm pretty sure everybody heard, somebody in their life who didn't uh subscribe to the Bible say something like, how can you um believe in the Bible when it was given to you by your slave master? I think that's a good question. That's a good question. That kind of make you uh feel like that. Well, why am I, still subscribing to this book that I only know because my just my slave master who treated me like cattle, he gave me this book. Why should I continue to subscribe to it? And like I said, I think that's a good question, but I think that question is asked out of ignorance, because Africans knew about the Bible before we came over here as or blacks or the Africans, whatever, Hebrews, whatever you want to say. Um, we knew about the Bible, before we came over here as slaves. It's a traveler. I think he was a traveler through the 16 to 1700s named Mungo Parks, I believe, and he encountered some Africans who he was surprised. Now these Africans never encountered no missionaries or nothing like that, and he was surprised that they knew about the Bible, mainly the Old Testament, and they were surprised that he knew about the Bible. So our people knew, or Africans, Hebrews, whatever y'all subscribe to, knew about uh the Bible before we came over here as slaves. Our people came over here as slaves. So like I said, I think that question is asked from ignorance. Um, but also when we was came when we I mean when, yeah, when we came over here as slaves, we wasn't taught the Bible. What we was taught was religious dogma. That's what we was taught, religious dogma. And and basically, I'm gonna share this information that the brother put up. Right here's a paper. It's a book called. I just printed it out. So I think it's like this the first page, but it's called Holy Rebellion: Religious Assembly Laws in Antebellum South Carolina and Virginia by Nicholas May. It's a antebellum religious assembly laws in the South typically regulated the time, place, and manner of slave meetings for religious or spiritual purposes. Such restrictions represented white fears of slave insurrection, particularly in states where slaves outnumber whites. However, Southern legislators and citizens did not simply fear slave religion as such. In fact, many Southern whites believed that the religious instruction of slaves was a civic or Christian duty. Rather, white Southern states regulated slave religion to prevent the potential twin dangers it created. So they regulated slave religion to prevent these potential dangers that he about to uh that it created. He about to explain these two dangers. Number one, a moral indictment of the institution of slavery. Number two, a pretense by which slaves could assemble for insurrectionary purposes. If you don't know what insurrection mean, look that up. I'm gonna keep reading. Yeah. So basically said like they regulated I guess you would say slave religious activity to prevent these two dangers. And I just read them. I'm gonna keep reading. Southern state legislators enacted laws restricting slave religion and literacy out of fear that the Bible offered a moral foundation for emancipation. Both the enlightened slave and the slave owner's awakened conscience threatened the stability of the Southern economy. Now, the first thing you got to ask is if if all right, how can a economy feel threatened by a people whose mind has been enlightened and whose mind has reached a high moral standard or just a moral standard? How can it be threatened by that? You see what I'm saying? How can an economy and those who benefit from the economy feel threatened when a people um reach a high or I can't say high, or when a people is enlightened in minds is become moral? The only system that can do that is because more a light an enlightened mind and becoming moral is good things. That's good. They not wrong with that. That's good. So how can a economy feel threatened and those who benefit from the economy feel threatened because something wrong with the economy? That's the truth. Something wrong with the economy, but that's a whole nother topic. But they fear that that the Bible offered um a moral foundation for emancipation and and could basically could enlighten the slave and the slave owner's mind or conscience, which could bring instability to the Southern economy. That's why in the beginning I said, like, man, they didn't teach that Bible. They didn't teach that Bible to to our people. They taught religious dogma, which you see today in these institutional churches. Religious dogma. That's what you see, and even some of these Hebrew Israelite camps, or a lot of them, majority of them, you see religious dogma. Yeah, they may have a better understanding than the Sunday Christian on certain things, but no, y'all, it's still religious dogma. Let me keep reading. It says Southern state legislators enacted laws restricting slave religion and literacy out of fear that the Bible offered a moral foundation for emancipation. Both the enlightened slave and the slave owner's awakened conscience threatened the stability of the Southern economy. To some extent, their fears were not misplaced. So he's saying, like, to a certain extent, their fears were not misplaced. In other words, they wasn't just paranoid. Like, they wasn't just being paranoid. The three largest slave revolts were led and planned by black preachers or religious leaders. Indeed, as in incidents of insurrection occurred more frequently in the 18th century, Southern slave codes tightened. As slave rebellions became religious in tone, Southern laws reflected this reality by specifically proscribing religious meetings. By 1850, every Southern state had enacted some restraint on the exercise of religion by slaves. Two states, however, both with rich religious history and large slave populations, led the South by enacting the first and most repressive religious assembly laws. Indeed, in South Carolina and Virginia, religious tradition, large slave, religious tradition, large slave economies, and continued slave unrest combined to produce a perfect storm in Richmond and Charles in the 1820s and 1830s. So they start tightening, these laws. They start putting um uh basically restraining the slave to practice, I guess you say his religion. You know why? Because like I said earlier, they fear that it can bring instability to the Southern economy. And I couldn't find it, but it's another piece of literature that the brother shared. Um and it's talking about a white woman who taught a slave how to read the Bible. And I believe it says she was thrown in jail. She was punished for that because they saw that as a high offense. I mean, I wish I could find it, because if you read this, like, yo, that's crazy. But yeah, she was punished for that, for teaching a slave how to read the Bible. Why? Go back to this right here. They saw that the enlightened the morality and the enlightened conscience of the slave, and like I said, the slave owners uh conscience threatened the stability of the Southern economy. And the Southern economy, just like today, is how the elite make their money. That's how they keep their power. Or I can't say the Southern economy, but the economy as a whole. Babylon. That's how they keep their power. That's how they make their money. That's how they stay rich. That's how they stay wealthy. That's how they stay the 1%. That's how they keep their power. I mean, and they need that. They don't need people to gain knowledge. They don't need people to become moral, because when you become moral, you start like the Messiah. When you become moral, you start thinking on you start thinking righteously. You start considering your brother as yourself. You start considering the poor, as yourself, and oppressed as yourself. And if I know if I was oppressed and I knew some people who wasn't oppressed, I would appreciate if they came and free me from my oppression, especially if I couldn't do nothing about it. I would appreciate it with all my heart if they came and freed me from my oppression. So since I know I feel like that, I mean, we oppressed, but I mean, I'm right now I'm speaking from the perspective of those who more oppressed than blacks in America. We oppressed, but like I said, I'm speaking for those who are extremely oppressed. If I was extremely oppressed, and if I feel all right, if I was extremely oppressed, I would want somebody to come free me from this if I couldn't do it myself. So if I feel like that, how can I live my life pursuing my dreams and my goals, my personal dreams, my personal goals, without even thinking about those who is extremely oppressed? See, and when you've been taught by the beast, you're not gonna consider the those who oppress. But if you become moral, you gonna think about them. That's why they also mention the slave owners. When you become moral, when you become enlightened, you gonna think about the poor and oppressed. Like that's the truth. That's the truth, man. And like I said, they didn't teach us the Bible. They taught us religious dogma. That's the truth. They taught us religious dogma using certain scriptures, taking certain scriptures out of context to fit their own desires and to fit their own imaginations. That's what they did. That's exactly what they did. They didn't teach us that Bible. I remember I read across a video with a brother. He was explaining the hip hop industry, and he was saying how back in the day, um uh the youth at one point the youth was politically aware. They had knowledge. They was politically aware about certain things, and and a lot of these youth were dropouts, high school dropouts, and they were more politically aware than they counterparts who was in still in high school. And the elite saw that the reason why they were so politically aware, or one of the reasons why they were so politically aware, is because the music back then had more of or the hip hop or the rap music back then had more of a political tone. It had more of a political tone and in a revolutionary tone. That's why they was more keen to knowledge and more keen to revolution in political affairs. That's why. That's one of the reasons why. Now, they didn't take hip hop away from our people. They didn't take rap away from our people. What they did was insert some sellouts who was willing to sell out their people. And the boy, I'm just trying to share the video. The boy explained this. They start putting in people who was willing to rap about degraded stuff, wickedness, foolishness, just ignorant stuff. He found people who start, rap about that start to dumb our people down. That start to dumb our people down from being politically aware and stuff like that. That start to dumb us down and stuff. You know what I mean? And like I said, they didn't take away hip hop though. They just started inserting certain types of hip hop, to keep our people docile and stupid and in the state that we in today. That's what happened. And I believe it's the same thing that happened with the whole religious aspect of things. They didn't take Christianity away from us, or they didn't take the Bible away from us. They just start bringing laws to contain us, to restrict our mobility in the Bible, in what we yeah, in the Bible. They just started to restrict our mobility, in the Bible. That's what they did, and then later on they start to uh um teach things that was for their benefit. Get past. I remember a while ago I ran into a Yahoo Answers dude who told me, how can he become a pastor because he need a better way to take care of his family. Like, huh? Like, it's about money? Like, yeah, it's about that bread. And I believe that's what happened. They didn't take the Bible away from us. Instead, they taught us how to look at the Bible from a Greco-Roman capitalistic perspective. For example, the Lord's, this is the first thing that came to mind, the Lord's Prayer If you notice when the Messiah was sharing the Lord's Prayer, he didn't use I or me. He used we and ours. But when I heard people pray the Lord's Prayer, especially in these institutions, these religious institutions, they use I and me, individualism. And some people just say, "Well, ain't no wrong with individual." Well, okay, that's a whole nother topic. But here go a book right here called "Spiritual Disciplines for the Christian Life" by Donald S. Whitney. And I mean, it's a lot to read, and it's on page 21 and 22. But he was explaining how he went to, um, uh, uh, he was on a missionary trip in Africa, and he noticed that among this Christian African community, there was lying, stealing, stuff like that, maybe even gossip, and he noticed the reason why these things was there, and he said a whole bunch of immorality, different kinds of immorality. And he said the reason why he noticed why to think these evils existed among them is because they didn't have no Bible. He said the pastor would regurgitate. The pastor had like 6 or 7 sermons that will rotate every week. So he didn't change. It will rotate every week. And like I wasn't raised in Sunday church stuff like that. But when I began my journey to try to live for the Most High, I believe I was like in Sunday church for like maybe 2 to 3 years, and I saw the same thing, just it's the same sermons, nothing really different, nothing really crazy. It's the same thing, maybe from a different perspective, but at the end of the day, it's the same sermons. If somebody may take a different angle at it, but it's the same thing, it's the same thing. And if it's not like a real sermon, then it's talking about things that I appreciate, which is encouraging, people in their walk for trying to walk at the Messiah. I appreciate, ain't nothing wrong with that. But like I said, during my 2 to 3 years in these Sunday churches or institutions, I saw the same thing like he saw in this African Christian community who didn't have no Bibles. You see the same rotation of sermons being preached, every week. No, there's no real difference. And that's why I say, like, yeah, the oppressor, he did take he taught us religious dogma. He didn't teach us that Bible. He taught us a religious dogma that was going to help keep us docile, for keep revolution from happening. And when I don't want people to think that revolution is all about violent shooting up the white man, shooting up the oppressor, whatever no. I mean, first of all, let me say this too. I know some people is race sensitive. No, like black, white people, all people, we all oppressed. It's just that we just so damn stupid. Like real stuff, we just stupid. We judge each other off of crazy things, but it's stuff that don't even matter. But the oppressor, he look at us as a whole, a group of people that's gonna benefit him. That's the truth, But like I said, revolution is not about it. It don't have to be about violence. A peaceful revolution. One person you can look at. I mean, people don't like to look at Messiah as a revolutionary, but he was. But one person you can look at is Gandhi. Gandhi, he didn't use no weapons and nothing like that to overtake the Britain or the Britain kingdom or whatever. He didn't use that. That people know Gandhi as defeating. Look, pay attention, man. It's crazy. People know Gandhi as defeating the British kingdom with a staff and a loincloth. He didn't use no weapon. And I mean, I build with, I can build with, anybody on, or I won't mind building with anybody on, how he did that, Joe. But like I said, revolution don't have to be about violence and destruction and stuff like that. No, you know what I mean. But like I said, I just woke up. This was on my mind, so I just wanted to share it. But like I said, we was given religious dogma, which you see today in these institutional churches, but we was not given that Bible. We was not taught that Bible. That's the truth.